Hey y'all, it's Yobachi Boswell. I haven't posted anything to this channel in a while, and I decided to delve into this particular issue, and so I'm coming back at you after a while. Uh, since I had posted about this on my blog a few months ago, and now with the fact that I've been viewing some things here on YouTube, I've decided to go ahead and delve into the issue here as well. Uh, Approximately 42% of black women into their 30s are not and have never been married. And of course, the media has been playing this up a lot the last couple of years with their various, I don't even know, you can't call them insights, their theories on why this is, and their spin and caricatures that they've determined to put on the situation. I thought I would read from you from my post at blackperspective.net what I wrote about it, and just give my 2 cents on the situation. The title of the two articles that I did were ABC: The Latest Adventure into Why Black Women Aren't Married. I did two parts. This is the second part, but I'm going to intersect the first part into this a little bit into the piece. So I'm kind of basically just going to read from the post and maybe ad lib in other thoughts I want to put in. Alright, so this is how it reads. This is my second installment about the Nightline piece. The title and tagline of this piece reads, "Single black female and plenty of company. A high proportion of black women have never married. Four friends talked with Steve Harvey about it." And a lot of women that I saw when this came out took issue with Steve Harvey's inclusion. But anyway, my piece continues. Usually I stay out of these discussions, first because of the repetition that makes them cliche caricatures of actual, genuine, and thoughtful investigation, but mostly because they're never thoughtful to begin with. They're always trite, shallow, wrought with ridiculous stereotyping. Next, because the mainstream media treatment of anything black or cross-racial is always simplistic and insultingly done. The final reason, because people don't want to hear the truth, so I usually just avoid the argument. But here goes. In my first comment on ABC's segment, I pointed out that their mathematically inaccurate and highly misleading use of statistics creates a false notion of black maleship being inadequate marriage material, especially for successful and professional black women. So at this point, let me go back to that first piece and demonstrate what I wrote that shows that the Nightline piece was a distorted piece of propaganda just on the mathematical facts. And the first piece was called ABC: The Latest Adventure into Why Black Women Aren't Married, Proof of America's Stupid Media and Failing Math Education. Alright. Again, we have a demonstration of how dangerous stupid people can be with statistics. The following article and video report on this subject in part reads as follows. Single black females and plenty of company, and so forth. Okay. It says, let's take 100 black men. By the time you eliminate those with a high school, let me start over. This is starting in quotes. Let's take 100 black men. By the time you eliminate those without a high school diploma, 21%, the unemployed, 17%, and those ages 25 to 34 who are incarcerated, 8%, you have only half of black men, 54%, whom many black women find acceptable. End quote. All right. This is my back into my writing and my commentary on those use of statistics, that misleading and false use of numbers. And here's what I had to say. Most of these three groups are the same people. You can't just add them together and claim that 46% of black men either have no high school diploma, are unemployed, or are incarcerated. One of these things tends to lead to another, which tends to lead to the next. And that is to say, the 21% without a diploma, 17% unemployed, and the 8% that are incarcerated are not all different people. These are, for the most part, the same people, so you can't just take these numbers and add them together. And I was going on to write, this is a professional major news outlet, and this is the dumb, ignorant, mathematically deficient crap that they bring to the table. This is why our society is so ill-informed and ignorant. The people charged with providing this information and understanding are this lazy and inept, continuously misinforming and misguiding the public. This here is simply a microcosm of the routine nonsense we get from major media, and again proves my continuing thesis about major media. But keep blaming bloggers as the problem. If time permits, I'll do a piece on the second article. Okay, so anyway, I did that second piece, and so this is how I continued on discussing the issue. ABC's horrendously bad math wasn't the only issue of scarcity they tried to raise. The other was black women outnumbering black men by 1.8 million. While that is a large number in a general sense, it is a rather small percentage considering that there are some 40 million black people in America, and a red herring since women outnumber men across racial lines, period. So listen to that again. In every race in America, the women outnumber the men. Women in America outnumber men, period, number one. And since everybody is not at a marrying state in their life at the same time, it's not as if every individual is in a relationship nonstop always. So it's not this grave this grave gulf between the amount of people available for black women to marry any more than there is for women to marry in general. So that was just a complete red herring. All right, moving past the scarcity issue next. I think many black women don't get married simply because they don't want to. They may be interested in the ideal and would do so under some amazingly idyllic circumstances, but in practicality is not something they really covet. A sense of independence rules the day. Many late 20s and 30-something black females that I know believe the institution of marriage to not be much more than something beneficial for financial support, which these women don't need, or they see it as just a trap for men to control them, which they don't want. Some will outright admit this, while others hide behind excuses why they don't get married and make up ridiculous standards which men can hardly hope to meet. Which brings me to my next point, setting the bar out of reach. You've got a woman on this program talking about until now in her mid-30s, she wouldn't date a man shorter than 6'5". She's cutting out over 95% of the entire male population off the top. I mean, at least 95% of all males, no matter what their race is, even before the word hello. She's already cut them all out. So of course she's not going to be able to couple up with anybody when you have such a ridiculous standard as this. That's completely pointless. Then so many black women and women in general have a fairy tale notion of landing some sensitive thug or caring bad boy. But the reality is that the bad boy isn't going to be that sensitive, and the caring guy isn't a thug. That's usually coupled with some arbitrary level of income and or education. The education thing is usually codified amongst black women into the phrase, quote, being on my level, which by and large is really a cover phrase for I want money, because the same female who won't consider the decent, hardworking, blue-collar guy who doesn't have the high education credentials to match hers will without hesitation date an uneducated $1 million athlete or even a never attended college $100,000 a year self-made businessman. They don't care whether his money was attained via education or not. The bottom line is money. Money takes precedent over the character, quality, personal attributes of these people they choose to date. And the men they date know this. And most are no more interested in being tied down to these women than these women are to being tied down to Joe Mechanic. These women think they're going to take some self-absorbed playboy or what have you and turn him into some kind of caring Sir Lancelot that's going to put her on a pedestal. Nah, you have your suckers, but in general, he knows what you're there for, and he's just there to get what he wants. I, as well as a couple of black women I've talked to about this recently, noticed that these women in the ABC interview, as in the case with many I've heard from over the years, base mating on a criteria list which only have to do with height, build, income, and social status. There's little to nothing about the quality of the person, his values, his interests, his demeanor, how he treats people, whether he's well-centered, responsible, and giving. Nope, it's all about surface stats on a piece of paper.